first discussion on this, but
Right.
there is a debate going on about governance of super funds, and I think multiple directorships amongst other things, or multiple trusteeships. And the FSC certainly has a position on that, Andrew. So what is that position, and why?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Well, the Cooper Review looked at, as part of its review into the structure, efficiency and operation of the system, it did look at the trustee governance model, if you like, and it made some recommendations. They weren't accepted. That's the government's right to reject or accept recommendations made to it. We, on behalf of our members, thought that this was an appropriate time in moving to prudential standards to actually build on what APRA was going to deliver in terms of broad new prudential standards, that we would develop a standard on board composition, let's say, and also conflict. So our members will be moving from 1 July 2013 to a new standard of board composition, and that is the sort of model that we would seek as the investment community to impose on companies in which we invest. So aligned with the ASX corporate governance principles, FSC members who have an RSC will be compelled to have an independent chairperson and a majority of independent directors. For some of our members, that represents a large change. For some of them, they're already there. And we also sought to develop a standard on conflicted directorships, as we term them, which is you can't be a director of competing public offer superannuation funds. So we see this as a build on to the APRA standards. So as our members transition from today CIS and everything else into compliance with the APRA governance standards, they'll also be complying with the new standard on board composition. So again, we think it's important that we are consistent in how we engage as a $1.4 trillion industry. So if we're going to be part of the ASX Corporate Governance Council, which we are, and seek to impose a particular type of best practice governance model on companies, we also think it's only fit and appropriate that we apply it to ourselves.
Jerry, I'll throw the floor to you.
Well, you're right, Mike. This is an area of some controversy at the moment, and the question really turns on, to me, the use of the word independent or the use of the word independence. Since, at the risk of giving everybody a history lesson as to where the original structures came from, they emerged out of an industrial campaign, which, oddly enough, you and I were both reporting on when we were both cub reporters, which seems to be a pretty unlikely term, I know, but that's what we were doing. And the end part of the outcome to that was the creation of an equal representation trustee system to run not-for-profit funds. But they were required to, through fiduciary obligations, to act with independence, as in the word independence. And in my experience over that long period, that's what's occurred. Now, there are within the sector and that's been a not-for-profit sector. Now, the situation for for-profit organisations is somewhat different, and I would say not analogous, as Andrew's kind of clearly put it, that it would be seeking to replicate the structure of listed companies in Australia. And there's not exactly the same structures that need to be put there. Nevertheless, in the not-for-profit sector, in the equal representation sector, there are a significant number of non-aligned. In other words, they do not come from either an employer or an employee nominating system. They're nominated by the board, which is what would occur in an ASX company. It's to the order of about 60 directors out of about 600 directors across the not-for-profit sector. So it's in the order of 10% of directors are anyway either non-aligned or independent, if you wanted to use that term, chairs or directors of the organisations. Now, wearing my AIST hat as the representative body for the not-for-profit sector, we pretty much at the same time as Andrew's organisation has been working through a framework for governance to ensure that greater transparency occurs, that there's clearer lines of communication operate within our industry. But we still think that there is a role, an important role, for a high-performing, not-for-profit structure that has equal representation, which keeps the trustee structure close to the membership.